Hey everybody, welcome back to Reach and Reverie. My name is Alex. Today is June 17th and it's time for a garden tour. So let me show you guys around at what's new and exciting here on our little homestead. Alright guys, so not much has changed in this front garden bed along the back side of the house, but one thing I do want to note is how amazing this Seminole pumpkin is looking. Isn't that getting so big? Over here in our okra bed, our okra is getting nice and big. We do have some spotting. I think that's just due to how wet we've been this season. And I do have my very first okra right there. And there are several okra starting to grow on all of these plants. My calendula is starting to blossom. My borage is looking nice and healthy. And this sweet alyssum, oh my goodness. That's all I can say about that. Beautiful. In this 4-foot by 4-foot bed, I have tomatoes growing on the trellis and bush beans down below. Now these bush beans are being very productive. I'm harvesting these every couple days. And there are just a ton. This is the red Swan bush bean variety. In this section, there's just beans all in here. And then on this side, I have golden butterwax, which is a really pretty light green bean. And we are just full of production. There's beans all in here. Some of them are ready to harvest. Now, right up here against the trellis, I have 4 tomatoes on one side and 4 tomatoes on the other side. On this side, I have Dr. Witchy's, also sometimes referred to as Dr. Weish's. We have Paul Robeson, Amish Paste, and Chihuahuan Desert Star. Now this Chihuahuan Desert Star started off pretty deformed earlier in the season, and now, I mean, it's still growing some twisty looking branches, but overall it looks much healthier, and it is the tallest tomato plant on this side of the trellis. Look at that. Got some flower production. Might have some tomatoes here pretty soon. I'm really impressed with my Paul Robeson. We have several tomatoes already forming and more down there. Aren't those cute? Dr. Weish's hasn't shown me any tomatoes set yet, but we are getting flowers. And Amish Paste, throwing off a lot of flowers. I haven't seen fruit set yet. I have a little Snowball Tomato. This is a propagation where I cut off a sucker from one plant and decided to stick it in some soil and grow a new tomato. And we are having flowers already starting to form. And this is a really small pot for an indeterminate tomato, but that was the space I had for it. Now, my Snowball Tomato, I'll show y'all later in the back, actually is my most productive tomato yet. So I'm really not surprised that his twin is producing some flowers. In the corner of this bed, right before we switch sides, I have Moana's orange amaranth. Look at how pretty that is. He's starting to develop. And below him, I have a really robust white borage. I'm really excited to see this one go to seed and flower. Back around this side, I have more red Swan bush beans, mung beans, and a few lima beans. My mung beans have finally started to have their little beans developing. And of course, red Swan bush bean is just ahead of the game, a really early producer here. Lots of beans. I have noticed the other side gets a lot more sunlight. The sun comes up and then goes down that way. And so in the morning we get a lot of full sun on the other side, and this side's pretty shaded by the tomatoes. And then in the afternoon they get shade from the pecan tree, and it's only in the late afternoon that these beans really get a lot of full sunlight. And I've noticed the plants are a little more sparse and just not quite as big or productive as the beans on the other side who had better sunlight. Now my lima beans, labeled as bush beans, look at that. I think they want to be whole beans. And they have some cute little purple lavenderish looking colored flowers. So on this side of the trellis, the tomatoes that I have are the white currant tomato. We have Brad's Atomic Grape tomato, an orange peach tomato, and of course our spoon tomato. Now on this side, and within this whole bed, the most productive tomato that's just doing amazing is going to be our white currant tomato. Look at that. We have tomatoes, 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 and then we have more flowers, flowers, flowers. So this tomato is just the tallest one in the bunch and is just setting so much fruit. Look, I missed one. There's more fruit right there. And I'm really excited. These look like they're almost ready. Gonna get our first tomatoes of the season here pretty soon. Now Brad's Atomic has surprised me in that it's not doing quite as well. I think that my tomatoes were a little too closely spaced together and they're kind of out competing some of the others. Now in a normal season that probably would be okay how these are spaced, but this season we've had so much moisture. It's been unusual, the weather that we've had in our region, and I think that our climate this year is just a different climate than what I'm used to growing in. So having to adjust. This guy is struggling a little bit. He's this tall versus white currant tomato. And we haven't had any fruit set on Brad's Atomic yet. Now look at my little peanut. Now this is my little Ecuadorian pinstriped peanut, and he seems a lot happier because we've had some hot weather this week. We really haven't had that much rain this week. I've had to supplement the garden with a little bit of water this week. Now peanuts, they prefer temperatures that are hot. They really like hot weather, and so we have been in the 90s all week, hitting triple digits a couple days, and he looks so much healthier than our last garden tour where he was just shriveled up, having a lot of sickness looking from I think all of the rain and cold weather that we've had. You can see the beans don't like all of the wetness that we've had either. I'm hoping these beans will mature and set fruit pretty quick, because once my peanut starts flowering, these beans are going to be gone to give that peanut room to grow. So my little peanut and my beans, they're doing all right, which brings us to our arched cattle panel trellis. I'm not gonna lie guys, I was hoping we would be more green at this stage in the season. I know these nasturtiums can grow up to 10 feet in a season, and they're doing okay. Right now they're probably at about the 2-foot marker, and I'm just gonna start training these guys upwards, and hopefully they'll start covering that trellis. On this side I have Mr. Tigger melon, which is a little personal sized melon, who has made it up, started climbing the trellis. And I've kind of pruned back my nasturtiums, and I'm giving these other Tigger melons more access to sunlight, and I'm gonna start growing them up the trellis too. Have a Chinese noodle bean right there, and here's my other Tigger melon, which is just about ready to start climbing that trellis. On the end here we have one more noodle bean, and he's got to be about 4.5 feet tall. Pretty good. I think he's beaten the race to the top of the trellis this year. Over here I finally pulled out all of my carrots. I will show a picture right here. This is the dinner I made with all of those carrots. I harvested about 30 carrots, which was just enough for Luis and I to have a really nice dinner last night with those. I think I need to plant more carrots next year. I have calendula, This is a zinnia. This is pink senorita. We have basil, more calendula. This is actually unbelievably a radish from the winter, and I've left it here because it has been giving me little radish bean-like pods all season, which we eat, and we like to saute those in like a stir fry. They're pretty good, and it's still producing flowers, so it's still producing beans for me. And then we have, these are carrots that have gone to seed. Their seeds are just about ready to harvest. We have bachelor button. This is another borage. And here we have safflower that decided to flower this week. Isn't that gorgeous? They smell really good too. In the back we have a few other things like kale, some onions, pansies, and I know you're asking me, guys, what is that beautiful purple thing over here? Let's take a closer look. Isn't that just fantastic? This is an artichoke that has decided to flower, and it is just mesmerizing. This is the most beautiful flower I think I have ever seen here, and it smells amazing. I'm about a foot away from this thing and I can smell it. It smells like savory honey, just really, really wonderful. And the camera doesn't really convey that well. This is like a neon colored. It's like neon blue, purple. It's much more vibrant in real life, I feel. Oh my gosh, I love the smell of this. Now, before we go to the back garden, I realized that I've been a little neglectful when it comes to showing you guys what all is in my green stock. Isn't this just gorgeous? The green stock overall has been a huge success. There's a couple things that have petered out. We've had a little bit of moisture issues as far as getting too much rain, as well as some pest issues. We've had gnats that just have loved living in here. We've had leaf borers, but overall, I'm just so pleasantly surprised by how well this has grown this year. So on the top tier, we have forget-me-nots. This is Gilia Globe. I'm waiting for it to flower. We have Mexican mint. This is a mint mix, so we have like spearmints and peppermints all kind of mixed in together. This is thyme. I always love to just run my hands through and then smell. It just smells so savory. More mint. I've actually been pruning this mint quite a bit because mint is a bully in the garden, and mint grows really fast and likes to take over. On the next tier, this is catnip. Look at how marvelous this catnip is. I love the feel. Catnip is really velvety. It smells good too. We have some, it was labeled as hyssop, but it looks exactly like my Mexican mint, so I'm almost wondering if I may have labeled that wrong. This is lemon balm. Love lemon balm. I've been adding some lemon balm to my juicing. I juice every morning. I do a celery and beet juice, and I usually add like a few carrots or an apple, some lemon balm and basil. Really, really good for your morning routine. Oh my gosh, these smell just like lemons. Can't stop smelling it. So right here, I'm actually so excited. This is my second year trying to grow this, first year successful. This is the toothache plant. So the toothache plant, you can actually chew on these little flowers. It's also called the electric daisy, and it will numb your mouth. Can cure toothaches. You can also mix it up into like a salve and apply it topically as a painkiller for like bruises and things like that, little scrapes. So toothache plant, so excited to grow this. I haven't tried it yet. Honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm a little nervous to try the toothache plant. It's exciting. It's going to happen. I'm going to get the courage to try. I need to wait for a toothache. We have some cilantro that's decided to go to seed. I have been picking this cilantro just about daily, and it finally beat me to flowering. This is strawberry. One strawberry died. I decided to plant some bush beans in this pocket. We have, this is Cosmos. This is lemonade cosmos. So this up here is Collards. It hasn't been doing the best. We've had a lot of aphids trying to get on these guys. Down a level I have some Dino Kale, which has also been struggling with aphids. We have chamomile. This is arugula. And then I planted more bush beans right here. And this is Chagimaceae, which is kind of related to bok choy. We have dandelions. I planted an amaranth in that bottom pocket. And then we have 3 tomato plants. The 3 tomatoes that we have, I didn't write down which variety's which, but we have large barred boar, snowball, and get stuffed. They've been struggling a little bit with the sun. You can see some sunburn. It gets really, really hot here in the middle of the day, especially with the concrete. So we've had some sunburn on them, but overall I think they're still hanging in there. Now let me take you guys to the back garden. I think you might be surprised at how big everything's getting. I'm trying not to step on these girls. Hey girls! They just like to walk right in front of me, hoping that I'm gonna step on a pecan. All right guys, are you ready for this? I think that this garden has positively exploded since our last video. So let's start with our pepper bed. I am so excited to show you guys this. A lot of our peppers have started flowering. We have a ton that are starting to set fruit. Look at this. This is our Buena Mulata. Now something that you may notice is that plants that produce peppers earlier may take longer to grow bigger. Like this plant is a Buena Mulata and it set fruit right away. This plant is also a Buena Mulata and it took a couple weeks longer to start setting fruit, and you can see how much bigger and healthier this plant is versus this one. So if you find yourself in a situation where you see fruit growing but you want your plant to be bigger, what you can do is you can actually pick off this fruit, and instead of the plant putting energy into developing a fruit, it'll put more energy into helping the plant grow bigger before it starts setting fruit. Over here we have the Armenian yard-long cucumbers, which have blown me away with how tall these plants are getting. And just over the weekend, one of these plants grew over 20 inches vertically. It was ridiculous. There was a day where I came out and checked on it in the morning and it was like this tall, and then I went in and by lunch it was this tall, and then I came out to water and it was this tall, and it was just growing so fast. It's this plant, by the way. Cannot wait to try the Armenian yard-long cucumber. We have some marigolds, more Armenian yard-longs, and then our Moon and Stars watermelon. Look at how pretty those leaves are on the Moon and Stars watermelon. Over here we have the Charonte melon, which has really taken off with this hot weather. It's growing so fast. It's like one day it just decided, we're gonna start growing. And look at that. They are flowering all over. Lots of flowers. I'm mostly seeing male flowers, so hopefully it'll start pumping out some female flowers soon. In this bed we have our squash, our eggplant, and our tomatoes. I'm really excited. Our Ronde Denise survived that hailstorm that we got. Its new leaves are looking really healthy. Beautiful plant. I have my Pattison Panache Jaune Vert, which is looking lovely. This is another scallop squash. And look at this. Our first little baby squash right there. I came out during my lunch break today and actually hand pollinated this one with a Q-tip, where I dipped the Q-tip in the male flower and then I dipped the Q-tip in the female flower, and I'm hoping that that will get it pollinated enough to stick for us. I have several eggplants that have decided to flower this week. Really excited to see if we get some little fingers eggplant. Look at how many more blossoms there are on this plant. That's really exciting. Our tomatoes have been doing pretty good considering the damage they got from the hailstorm last week. We do have some fruit set, but that is better seen from the other side. Little known secret, I like to hide in this spot back here. Got this nice sitting rock. This rock is huge. It literally takes like 4 people to flip this rock over. Well, anyway, I like to sit here because it's got a really nice view. So let me tell you the tomato plants I have growing in this space. On the far end, we have the Blue Beauty tomato, followed by Paul Robeson, Large Barred Boar, Castelluto Fiorentino, the Snowball Tomato, also known as White Beauty. We have Get Stuffed and Crimson Cushion. Now, the most productive tomato I have ever in my life witnessed is the Snowball Tomato. Check this out. Now, we don't know how many fruit are actually gonna set, and please ignore my spots. We've had so much rain. I'm just trying to keep up with picking off these spotty leaves. So on this White Beauty tomato, let's just follow. So we have fruit comes out. We have tomato, tomato. Look at all of these baby tomatoes. And then we come down over here and around. Look at all of these baby tomatoes. And then we look behind this leaf. Oh, look. The flowers continue. Look at all those baby tomatoes. It comes up this way. Oh wait, there's more. Now, about a week ago, I counted every single blossom on this plant. The numbers were over 50. And I think that this plant has set even more flowers since last week. So this one Snowball tomato has like 70 tomatoes on it if all of the flowers were to get pollinated and if the plant were able to put all of its resources into growing those tomatoes. That's mind-boggling to me. Now let's look right next door at our Get Stuffed tomato. Let's see. I don't see any flowers on the bottom half of this plant. Oh, look, we have one cluster of flowers and I see three flowers on this plant. 3 flowers on my Get Stuffed tomato. 50 plus, probably like 60 or 70 flowers on this one plant. 3 flowers, 50 to 70. My goodness. I just wish I grew more of this variety, but that's part of my experiment. I mean, we live in this little backyard. We don't live in the backyard. We have this small property that we're renting while we're saving up for our future. We really want to have a homestead. Eventually, we want to be self-sufficient, growing as much of our own food as we possibly can. We want dairy goats. We want to expand on our chickens. We would love to grow meat chickens. Obviously, they wouldn't be laying hens. We would do like Cornish crosses, the breeds that are meant to be meat chickens. We want to do meat pigs potentially, but the point is, this is my classroom that I'm learning in while we don't have the space to really expand to everything we want to do. And so in knowing that I maybe have room for, if I squeeze them in really close together, 15 tomato plants. I think I have 16 tomato plants this year. And I'm growing 10 different varieties. It really means that I can only grow like 1 or 2 of each variety that I'm really interested in. So I just get a glimpse at what the plant could be like, and that doesn't mean that that plant is going to be a good representative of that variety, because there's variation within varieties So I'm liking what I'm seeing though so far with the Snowball Tomato. It makes me want to grow a couple more plants next year versus get stuffed. Maybe this is a good variety. Maybe it's really productive, but I'm just not seeing it from this representative of this variety right here. Now, Crimson Cushion is a cool surprise. I got most of my seeds from Baker Creek this year. Crimson Cushion I bought from just a local store. It was like a 99-cent seed pack. So I really didn't have that much high hopes. Even though it's an heirloom variety, that really just goes to show that, I don't know, I expect more from the Baker Creek. Now this, like 99-cent tomato variety, is full of flowers too. I'm seeing 5, 6, 7, 10, maybe 10 flowers on this plant. So that's pretty good. Over here, the large barred boar is looking pretty productive. Paul Robeson, at it again, early producer. Look at that Paul Robeson tomato. It's pretty cool. And then I think I saw another one up here somewhere. That's pretty cool. And what I mean by there's variation within varieties, for example, is take my Blue Beauties. Last year, I grew nothing but Blue Beauty on this area. I had all of this amount of space with tomatoes was just the Blue Beauty. And I came into this season expecting the Blue Beauty to outperform them all again. It was, within one season, my favorite tomato variety. Now this year, I only kept one Blue Beauty tomato, and he has not been the best variety. So you see just beautiful arch, really healthy tomatoes. And then Blue Beauty on the end over here, which last year, the tomato on the end was the biggest, strongest, healthiest tomato. This year, he is sickly, pale in comparison to the next variety. All of his tomato blossoms are basically rotting and falling off. And it's just not a pretty tomato. Really short. So if I was basing the Blue Beauty tomato off of this one plant, I would be extremely disappointed, but I know better because I grew a lot of them last year. Very great plant. They do great in the heat. They're really, really good tomato variety. And you see him, he's curled leaves, really struggling, versus Paul Robeson right next to him. Really beautiful plant. So that just goes to show you, not the strongest Blue Beauty in this garden, but I know that that's a good variety still, even though that one wasn't very good. So if you're only growing like a couple of plants, several different varieties, don't judge the variety off of the first plant that you grow, because there's variation. So if you grow several plants, maybe you'll see like, oh, well, this variety gets sick faster, or this variety, you know, takes off quick and then peters out, or this variety produces early, or this variety puts a lot of flowers off. We'll see how many actually produce into fruit. It's really interesting to see the difference. And so I by no means growing all of these varieties am trying to do like a yes, no, I'm gonna grow these always or never again based off of one representation. I am trying to grow as many varieties as possible because I want to like taste what they taste like. I want to experience all of these different ones. And of course, when we get our future homestead and when we have the space, I'm going to grow all of these again, and maybe on a larger scale where I'll actually have a better scientific viewpoint on which variety works best in the region that we're growing in for the purpose that we're growing for. So I take it with a grain of salt when I say Paul Robeson's an early producer or Snowball Tomato is the most prolific. Like, these are just one tomato of Paul Robeson and one tomato of Snowball. So when I say that, don't think I'm saying go out and only buy Paul Robeson and Snowball because they're doing the best right now, because maybe this is just a really strong plant and that's a really strong plant, but these other tomatoes are also really great too. Like, look at this large barred boar. Look at all those flowers right there. Really, really healthy leaves. Beautiful stocky plant. Just gorgeous. Over here I have Fennel, which is doing really good. And this is my Chrysanthemum Melon. Growing lots of melons this year, guys. We have the giant yellow marigold. We have another one right here. Some nasturtiums. The nasturtiums in this bed have been struggling quite a bit. Look at all those ugly leaves. I don't know, guys. I want to say some of this is the hail damage. It looks like the dirtier, uglier leaves have holes in them. So it could be from hail damage, but I think it's also from moisture. Looks like a couple of our pole beans survived. And that, my lovely friends, is the June 17th garden. I can't wait to show you our next garden tour. I am sure that things are going to surprise us even more. I can tell you, when I was hoping that the Charonte melon reached the trellis, I was hoping it reached the trellis. Look at that. It's grown about 2 feet taller than what I expected. Little wins every single day. And let me tell you guys, I've been waiting all week to show you that Armenian yard long cucumber. Every day I'm like, is it time to film my garden tour? And then every day I come out and I'm like, it's grown even more. Like, I have, like, wow. So that's pretty cool. Now, what do y'all think? Should I try this? I was thinking about throwing it in some food, but it's the first pepper of the season. Maybe I should just go for it. I don't taste any spice at all. Really good flavor though. This was supposedly a spicy pepper. Look at those little seeds. Maybe he's still just too young. Absolutely no heat there. Almost tastes like a green bean. Oh my gosh. That was really good. I'm gonna have to get more of these Buena Mulatas. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you have any questions about anything that we're growing this year, leave it in the comments below and I will try to answer them as best as I can. If you like this video, don't forget, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. That way you can follow us and stay up to date with the latest and greatest going on here on the homestead. Now, one more thing before I go. I did get a question about this chicken scratch that we use. So one thing that we started supplementing to our girls as a treat is called chicken conditioner. Now, just to be clear, this is not their main food source. We give this to the girls basically as a treat to get them into the run at night, or I'll give them like a handful during the day for them to have to help encourage pecking behavior while they're out free ranging. But what this is it's a healthy snack. So what we were giving the girls was chicken scratch, which is basically cracked corn and some grains. It's a lot of carbs, and it's basically like a junk food for chickens, and they love it because it's carbs. I don't know, chickens love chicken scratch. So we decided to get this for our girls. It's a conditioner which you can feed to like game birds or show birds to help improve the quality of their plumage, to help improve the overall quality of your chickens. And this can be given to certain types of birds as their main food source, but because we have laying hens, we feed our girls, the main part of their diet is a well-balanced layer pellet, which includes calcium to help them produce strong eggs. So they have a layer pellet, access to that all the time. And this is just a snack. But we decided to give this to our girls because not all of our girls molted last winter. Some of them, their feathers just aren't looking as good as they could. And these girls are getting older. Our chickens are almost 2 years old now. And even though chickens could live, you know, potentially as long as a dog or a cat, their most productive years, their most productive time for laying is before they're about 1.5 years old. And every year that they age, their production goes down. So we're not trying to like feed them this to make sure that they keep producing eggs. We're just trying to give them a nice treat that's maybe a little healthier than chicken scratch, which will help them keep in better condition for longer, because we want healthy birds. So we just give them, you know, like maybe a handful or two for our 9 birds every day. But one question that we got in the comments of one of our videos was, where did I get this and what is this called? So I actually bought this. It's called chicken conditioner, at Tractor Supply. However, you could probably find this at any of your local feed stores, and I'm sure there's different brands for it. I'm gonna go ahead and post a picture of the product that I got at Tractor Supply, as well as the price for the product that I got at Tractor Supply. I am not sponsored by this product in any way. I'm just trying to be honest, and you know, somebody was asking where I got it, what it's called, so they could offer it to their birds. I'm not, you know, in any way being paid to show you guys this information. I just want to make sure that you have access to it if that's something that you're interested in. I mean, we're giving it a try. I'm not for sure knowing if this is something we're going to stick to, because it is really expensive. It's about 5 times more expensive than chicken scratch, but it also smells amazing. I just dropped a bunch of seed on the camera. It smells like really fruity, almost like a tropical like bird food. It smells almost like a bird food that you would feed like your parrots and stuff. It's like really fruity versus to the chicken scratch and scratch grains, just pure carbs. So I just wanted to offer this information to you guys just so you have access to that if that's something that you guys want to consider. I'm not telling you this is what you need to do for healthy birds. We are giving this to our girls as a treat, almost as an experiment to see if their condition does improve versus giving them chicken scratch. So I'm not trying to tell you do this, but this is something that we're trying. And of course, we're gonna continue with this at least until we run out of this product. So hopefully by that time, we'll be able to tell if it's really worth it to give to our girls long-term or not. But they love it, and from what I've seen, it has higher protein content, higher nutrition than chicken scratch. So in regards to giving it to them as a supplement and a treat, I don't see anything wrong with it, because chicken scratch isn't very nutritious anyway. So if it's, as long as you're not giving it to your laying hens as a complete food source, then I think it should be fine. I mean, we give our girls leftovers. We give our girls food scraps. So like when I'm juicing and I'm cutting up my celery and cutting up anything, I'm giving them the peels to my carrots, I'm giving them the ends to my celery. We give them any food scraps that are not high in sugar, that are not salted or seasoned, and they love it. So that's not their complete food source. What we give them, so what we feed our girls on a regular basis is chicken pellets for laying hens. So this is their main diet, and they just get the chicken conditioner as a treat. All right, well, that's all I've got for y'all today.